Okay, let's talk about just how confining copyright, patent, and trademark stuff is on websites in general. And I threw up this site. And one reason I want to go through that is because a lot of people really don't know what the limits are at all. They are afraid to put out content because, for instance, they go and research a bunch of stuff and then they want to go create their own web page and they're afraid they're going to infringe on the copyrights um, of the people that created the information they researched and that they can't put their own stuff out. Well, it's kind of interesting how it works online. And, I paid a couple of lawyers a lot of money back in the day when I was learning a lot about this stuff because it's really the wild, wild web. And how things kind of happen out here is different than a lot of people realize. Now, just to throw in the disclaimer, I can't possibly give you legal advice, and you have to assume everything I'm going to tell you anyway is wrong when it comes to something right down to this because you never know. At the time I got the information I got from my lawyers, maybe everything changed. Of course, it probably didn't, but nonetheless, don't hold me to what I say. Just try to glean what I'm trying to tell you here. Okay, here we have a page, right? And I wanted to make a quick comment. At the bottom of the page, you would expect to see some sort of a copyright word and a little C symbol and, a year or a range of years and the website name here or the company name that this website would belong to. Apparently, wisechoicemedicine.net could be the name of the company, Wise Choice Medicine, or it could be something else. And I'm just using this page as an example, but I know a little bit about the info about where this page came from. Anyway, so on this page, what would be considered covered by copyright? As you would know, it'd be wording, right? The wording you see is the stuff you would expect to be covered by copyright. Okay, wording, if you can highlight it and it's wording, then it would be covered by copyright. Now, typically, an image is not covered by copyright. It would be covered by the same thing as the logo and the name of the company. It would be trademark stuff. Okay, and an image that happens to have the trademark information in there or not, such as this guy here, Rudy, apparently. The question is this stuff covered by copyright? Is it covered by trademark? What the heck is it covered by? Okay, now I want to point this all out to help people understand things. And then what about the patent? What would be covered by the patent? The patent would cover the layout of the site. The fact that there's this margin up here where their logo goes and their company name. This would probably also be covered by patent as a huge image, by trademark. But nonetheless, the patent would be the layout. So you've got this border at the top that's basically white, except for the image. And then underneath you have a little bar that's basically gray. And it's got this little white wording in here and so forth and so on, right? Now, a patent is a very difficult thing to control. In this case, if they put out a patent, they probably would never succeed, all right? Because there's nothing in here that they can say is theirs and that originated from them. Let me give you an example. If and I'll just throw you up one for copywriting. Let's say I came out tomorrow and I created new information. It's how to unscrew the lid off the toothpaste. Okay? And it's a set of instructions, step 1, step 2, step 3. Then I go and actually get a copyright registered at the copyright office for this thing. And then what I do is immediately try to contact everyone that has any sort of instructions for unscrewing the toothpaste that mimic mine. And then I try to tell them, hey, I have a copyright and you guys owe me. So the first rule of thumb, and it applies to patents, copyrights, and trademarks, is who came first. And it goes further than you would think. For instance, if they put their information out here and it is not copywritten, and then I just copy all this information tomorrow and stick it on my website, and then they say, what the heck did he do? And then they say, well, maybe other guys are doing it too, and maybe they aren't. So now this company goes nuts and they run out and finally get this information copywritten. Okay? And then they come back and say, it's copywritten, you can't use it. Well, guess what? That applies to anyone and everyone that creates the information after the date of their registered copyright. Okay, it doesn't apply to people that came before. You're grandfathered in for usage because you had the information out before they got the copyright up on there. Now, again, I'm not actually giving legal advice. It could be the case that some of this is wrong and right, but I remember how it used to be in cases like this. Okay, so again, it's the same kind of thing. If you go and copy this information somewhere else, and then they get a copyright later, they can't tell you not to use it now. That's like me copywriting instructions on how to unscrew the toothpaste, and then running off to everyone that came before me and telling them that now they have to take it down. The fact of the matter is they don't. Okay, now why do you put the copyright C bit at the bottom? The reason you do it is to show intent. That way you can show in a web archive, that kind of thing. You can show original usage. You can sort of show that your intention was to copyright information and you have this information out before anyone else. That way you have a kickoff date to show who came first. And for those of you that have no idea what I mean, well, let me give you an example. If I go to archive.org, they have something called a Wayback Machine. If I look on here for, what is that, wisechoicemedicine.net, then guess what it can show me? It can show me snapshots going back in time of what this website looked like a long time ago, from basically the time they started onward. And in this case, it's just not able to get it. Sometimes Wayback Machine's too clogged. Everyone's looking something up. But whatever the case is, this thing usually is going to give you a really good clue. I wonder if this will work. Might. It's going to give, oh, and also it forwards to the /store. So, here we go. So as far back as November 15th, 2007, there's at least a record of what they had on their site then. All right. And if I went and looked, then I would be able to see basically a snapshot of how their website looked way back in that day. And it may or may not actually work with me right now to show you this, but I can see it typically. And that way I'm going to be able to say, see, I had it here November 15th, 2007. This other guy who stole it and put it up, let's look up his website and go and find his earliest date, see who's came first. You know, who used it before the other guy used it. Okay, here we go. And this is the webarchive.org web, and this is the actual snapshot from way back then. You'll probably find it's virtually the same thing. Now I got a question. What if they did have the copyright symbol, copyright stuff down here, and then by, you know, some date later into the future, like one of these others here, they make a change. Even a small one. Maybe they change 6 months to something like SIX months. Or they take this right here and they break it down for a new line, although that may not apply because it's not a material change to the wording. Maybe instead of generated thousands of reports, maybe it said generated hundreds of reports back in 2007, but now it says thousands of reports because things have changed. What's my point? My point is, if they change the wording, they're breaking their own copyright. And here's where this comes back down to reality checks. Just putting a copyright symbol at the bottom of the page does very, very little. You cannot actually sue in a case like that if somebody else steals your own stuff. And you're probably never going to be able to get away with it anyway, because there's all kinds of other geographic considerations and stuff. First of all, if you're copywriting something and your intent is to sue for business, you better have your trademark registered first. And your trademark, maybe you can't, it doesn't cover you nationally in the trademark register, maybe it covers you for your state. Okay, and so now if somebody's out of state on the internet, then that's kind of different. You know, or they're from a different state. Again, there are too many considerations. Don't even worry about it. You're never going to land it. But coming back to the idea of copyright, patent, and trademark, first of all, they probably never trademarked it. If they did, they are required to carry a, you know, TM symbol up here. They didn't trademark it now. That means that I can take this image for my own use. I can actually copy it and use it for my own business. Now, I'm not going to get away with wisechoicemedicine.net as being my domain name, obviously, but I could do wise-choice-medicine.net. Okay? And I have no reason to believe that they have a trademark. Okay? Now, I'll get into that in a minute, but let me come back. I can take their content and copy it. I can take their images and copy them. I can go to Google Images, look up images, and copy them. All right, and use them for what I need. Let me give you an example of Google Images if you're unfamiliar with it, but I'm sure you are. You know, if you go here, there's other sorts of things that you can look up. There it is, images. And you can look up images. Rudy. I wonder if I'm going to see the dog, you know, something like that. But whatever the case, and of course it's going to be hard to get around that with everything else that's going on out here. Just getting back to the point.